Hey guys, in this video I'm going to show you how to knit up the net lace stitch. It's a simple lace knit that you can do even if you're at the beginner level, and it knits up a knit that's or a lace that's pretty open, very similar to the mesh lace stitch that we looked at last week. But this one actually lays really flat, the edges don't curl up as much, and it just looks really pretty. What I have here is a scarf that I knit up using this pattern, and I used the sweet roll yarn for this, which is a premier yarn. It is 100% acrylic, and it's variegated, or it's got different shades of color, and so it kind of gives you these nice cool stripes. The roll that I just showed you is 5 ounces, and one skein of yarn will give you a scarf that's almost 5 feet in length and about 8 inches or so wide, so it works out great for a scarf. Again, you can knit it wider or longer depending on how you want to do it, but it's just a super easy pattern, so I thought I'd share that with you and show you how you can do it. So let's get started. For the demonstration, I'm using size 9 double pointed needles. You don't need double pointed needles for this pattern, and I've gone ahead and cast on 15 stitches using the long tail cast on. If you're not familiar with this technique, you can I've provided a link to my video below for that. And the way the pattern is worked, it's a multiple of 4 stitches plus 3 stitches. So you need to have a number that's divisible by 4, and then you need to add 3 stitches to that. So for instance, here I have 15, so then I have 4 plus 4 plus 4, and then I've added 3 stitches to that. Okay, so again, depending on the piece you're trying to make, you can adjust the stitches. Just be sure that it's a multiple of 4 plus just 3 stitches, not 3 stitches on either end, just 3 stitches. The great thing about this pattern, which I've provided the details down below in the description field, is that every other row in this pattern is going to be just purl. So again, it's one of those easier lace knit patterns where every other row is just purl. So you're really doing the pattern over the first and the third row. And those are the ones that you'll have to do some slightly complicated stitches, but again, they're not that difficult. So the first row, the pattern goes knit 2. So we're just going to knit the first 2 stitches. And you'll notice I haven't really done any rows of knitting or anything like that to get myself set up here. I'm just starting right off the cast on edge, and that's fine. But if you wanted a border to your scarf, you could do a few rows of just knitting, just knit all the way across, or maybe a moss stitch, and that would work as well. Okay, so the first 2 stitches are knit 2, and now you're going to do the repeat, or you're going to do the stitches that you'll then be repeating throughout. So the pattern calls for a yarn over. So a yarn over means you're just wrapping the yarn over this right needle. Then you're going to slip 1, which means you're inserting the right needle into the next stitch as if to purl, and you're just slipping it over. Okay, let's see that again. Slip 1 would be inserting as if to purl and just slipping it over without knitting it or doing anything to it. And then you're going to knit 2 together. Now your yarn is still in the front from that yarn over that we had done, which is fine. You're going to insert the right needle into both stitches of the left needle, and you're going to knit. And you're going to drop both stitches off from the left needle. Okay, and we'll see that one more time, but for now we did the knit 2, we did a yarn over, we slipped 1 stitch, we knit 2 together, and now you're going to pass this slipped stitch over. Okay, so you take your left hand needle, insert it not into this first stitch because that was our knit 2 together, but the stitch below it, which is the pass slip, the stitch that we slipped. So you're going to insert it in there like so and pull it over the knit 2 together stitch. Okay, then you're gonna yarn over again and then knit 1. And that right there is your repeat. These are the 4 stitches that you're working on that you're going to keep repeating till the last, essentially till the last 1 stitch. Okay, so we'll see that a couple more times. Let's do that again. So the pattern calls for a yarn over, slip 1, so insert, and just slip it over. And notice that I'm inserting it in purlwise, not knitwise. You could slip stitches knitwise as well, in which case you would insert as if to knit and then pull it over. But for most times, unless the pattern specifically calls for it, when I slip stitches, I slip them purlwise. Okay, so yarn over, slip 1. Now you're going to knit 2 together, and then pass the slip stitch over. Now it's important to know of these remaining two stitches below this last stitch, which one is the slip stitch and which one was the yarn over. And if they've twisted around, you can just turn and see, and you can kind of make out that this one here was the yarn over, whereas this one here is the slip stitch. So insert into that stitch and pull it over the other stitch. Okay, then you do another yarn over and a knit 1. We'll do that one more time for this row. Yarn over, slip 1, knit 2 together, pass the slipped stitch over, yarn over, knit 1. And then when you come to the last stitch, all you're doing is a knit 1. So you started off, whatever number of stitches that you started off with at the start of the row, you should end up with the same number of stitches. So I always like to count to make sure that I followed the pattern properly. In this case, I do know that I must have done it right because I ended up with 1 last stitch at the end, like the pattern calls, but it never hurts to double check. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 15. Okay? And then the alternate rows are just purls. So row 2 and row 4, row 6, row 8, row 10, all the even rows are going to be just purl. So you can purl all the way across. And again, like we saw for the mesh lace stitch, when you come to that stitch that was the yarn over, the stitch is going to be a little bit loose, so just be careful there. You don't want that stitch to drop. If it does drop, however, like this, that's okay. It's still there, so just reach back in and pick it up with your left needle. And we're going to purl all the way across, and that'll bring us to the end of row 2. Just going to purl these stitches to get us there. And it'll look a little wonky when you're doing this because some of those yarn over stitches, the loose stitches, will kind of sit a little bit loose and it'll look weird, but don't worry, once you're done, it'll all even out. And it helps if you're a little bit of a looser knitter, as opposed to knitting tight, because doing all those knit 2 togethers and passing the slip stitch over, it helps if your knitting is a little bit on the looser side. Okay, the next row is where you're pretty much doing that same pattern repeat, but your first part is a little bit different. So if you remember on that first row, we had done just knit 2 and then we got into our pattern repeats. Here we're doing a little bit more. We're doing knit 1, then we're doing knit 2 together. Okay, then we're doing yarn over, and then we're doing knit 1. So instead of just 2 stitches at the start, now we've done 4. Now we do our same pattern repeat. So yarn over, slip 1, knit 2 together. Okay. Pass the slip stitch over, yarn over, knit 1. We'll do that one more time. Yarn over, slip 1, knit 2 together, pass that slip stitch over, yarn over, knit 1. Now when you come to the end, It's a little bit different again. You do this till you've reached the last 3 stitches. Then you do a yarn over, you do a slip 1, but you don't do a knit 2 together. Instead, you just do a knit 1, and you pass that slip stitch over that knit stitch. So it's pretty much the same as your repeat, except you don't have enough stitches to knit 2 together, because you need to leave that last stitch. So this is why the pattern deviates a little bit here, and then you knit 1 at the end, and that's it. And the next row you'll just do purl all the way through, and after you've knit this for a little while, this is what your pattern will look like. And so this is where I've done the repeats of the 4 rows 3 times, and for each row on any of these columns, for each row you'll get 1 hole, or for each set of 2 rows you'll get 1 hole. So while you're doing the pattern, if you lose track of am I on row 1 or am I on row 3, because remember row 2 and row 4 is just purl. But if you're not sure, you don't have to go back and try and count each one of these rows. You can just count these holes, and remember, this is the right side of the work, this is the wrong side of the work. Well, technically, if this side looks better to you than the other side, then you can certainly call this the right side for your project. But technically, this would be the right side. So if you're unsure, for each 2 rows that you're knitting, it's going to form 1 hole on any of these given columns. So that's 2 rows, 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 and that's 2 rows. So I've repeated this pattern 3 times for 3 rows of 4, or three repeats of 4 rows each. Okay, this I've just done with a single color. I've done the same swatch here, or the same pattern here on a swatch, with a slightly thinner yarn and a little bit of a variegation in the color of this pink. It's hard to make out on the camera, but it's ever so slightly variegated. And again, it looks like a really pretty stitch, and it lays really flat. I haven't even blocked this piece, and you can see how flat it lays. So it's a wonderful pattern. I encourage you to try it, and let me know how it goes for you. Again, the pattern is provided down below, and if you have any comments or would like to see more videos, please subscribe to my channel, Knittycat's Knits. And if you have ideas or would like to see any specific videos, again, please leave a comment and let me know. Thank you for watching, and happy knitting!